All right, folks, it's Back in action here. In this video, we are going to quickly go through the definition of a ray and some parts of angles. In the next video, we will actually go through some detail on types of angles and how to name angles in more depth. So we're going to start here with a ray. A ray is a part of a line. Now remember, lines have an infinite number of points and they go forever in two directions. A ray is going to be a part of a line, which means it will also have an infinite number of points. However, a ray is going to have one end point, okay? So it is going to have one end point and then all the points in a single direction. So instead of going in both directions, it's going to go in one direction. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to draw what would look like a line, but instead of putting arrows on both ends, I'm going to put an arrow on one end and I'm going to put a single point on the other. Now remember, there's an infinite number of points on this ray, so I'm going to just put a couple here and I'm going to say A, B, and C. Now, when we name a line, we could pick any 2 points that we wanted, but when we name the ray, we have to, there's no exception, you have to always start with whatever point is the end point. So one option for naming this ray would be C, and then I can pick any point in the direction of this arrow. So I could do C and then B. So I could call this CB. And just like we did with lines and segments, we're going to put a little mini ray on the top. We are always going to make this little mini ray point to the right, even though in our picture, our ray is going to the left. This same ray could also be called CA with a little mini ray over the top, because in both cases, I'm starting at the same place and I'm moving in the same direction. Now, opposite rays are going to be collinear rays. So it's basically going to be two rays that are going to make a nice straight line. And what's going to happen is they're going to share a common endpoint, but no other points. So what we're going to do is we're going to draw a line this time because they are supposed to be collinear. So I'm going to put my arrows on the ends. I'm going to put those same 3 points that I just did on the previous one. And I'm going to say A, B, and C. And our collinear rays, or our opposite rays is what we'll call it, would be starting at B and going in this direction, or starting at B and going in this direction. So if we were going to name these two rays, remember they have the same endpoint. So the blue ray is going to start with B, and it's going to go in the direction of A. And we always put the baby ray, the little mini ray on the top. And then the other ray is also going to start at B, but now this one is going to go in the direction of C. Okay, so those would be our two opposite rays. They start at the same point and they're going in opposite directions, creating a nice straight line. Now, an angle. You guys generally know what an angle is. You're pretty good probably already recognizing that this is an angle. What we're going to do is we're going to add in our definition and we're going to talk about how to name them. Now, an angle specifically has non-collinear rays. And what that means is that the opposite rays that we just did are not an angle, okay? So some students want to call this a straight angle, but our textbook does not do that. So this is not considered an angle because it makes a straight line, okay? Our angles have to be something less than 180 degrees. They cannot make a straight line. So right here we can see that I've got some non-collinear rays. I could have a ray here, and then I could have another ray starting at U, and it's going to go here. So those two rays are forming an angle. To name that angle, I've got a couple choices. We're going to put the little angle symbol in the front. Remember, I like to do the little arc. You don't have to. If when I look at this angle, if I only have one angle that has this common endpoint, I can name it with that. You guys probably already know that's called the vertex. So I could say angle U. I can also say angle, and now I can pick a point on one of the rays, then go to the common end point, and then go to the point on the other ray. So I can follow it around. So I could say angle F-U-N. I could also say angle, and I could go the other direction. I could say N-U-F. And then the last new one for you is if you see a little number that's tucked inside here of the angle, that number can also be used. So we're going to say angle 8. Now, this symbol, you have to have this symbol because remember, if we didn't have this symbol and we just wrote F-U-N, that would mean that we were talking about the entire plane, and that is not an acceptable answer for the angle, so don't lose that angle symbol. The next thing we're going to cover here is the interior and the exterior of an angle. Now, there's no definition that I need you to do. I just need you to know what I'm talking about when I talk about the interior or the exterior. Remember, rays are going to go forever, so let's go ahead and we're going to extend these rays to the edge of this little box. This would be considered the interior of the angle. So this entire space here is called the interior of our angle. And we're going to have some problems in just a little bit that are going to talk about the interior. This is going to be our exterior. I just need you to be able to recognize it. So this is all going to be, any points out here are in the exterior of the angle. The reflex angle is something that just sometimes pops up, so I just want to let you know that a reflex angle, instead of being this measure here, the reflex angle is going to be this part that's out here. So it's the number of degrees out there. So it will be our 360 degrees minus whatever angle measure you have. So it'll be something that's going to be more than 180. So in this case, it would be 315 degrees. The next part of an angle that I want to talk about, we already kind of mentioned it and colored it up above, the sides of an angle. This is a commonly missed question. The sides of an angle have to be rays. So we're going to review how to name the ray. So when we look at this angle here, we know it's formed by two rays. I have this ray right here, and I have this ray right here. I'm going to rewrite that I that I just wrote over, okay? So when we name these two sides, we need to name them as rays. So I know that I'm going to need a little baby ray, a little mini ray for both of them. I know that both of these rays have a common endpoint, so both rays are going to start with the letter I. And then what we'll do is we'll just pick a point that's in the direction of that side. So I could say IP for one of my rays, one of the sides, and the other ray would be IG. Okay. There has to be two rays for each angle. All right, in the next video, we're going to go through very quickly different types of angles and how to name them.